Madison's mother is absent. Is that correct? When I visited my daughter's house in LA, the mother offered me this straightforward, light-hearted question. I don't believe our backgrounds are a good fit. What do you think about this? The father, who looked down on us, asked too. I was furious with them for disparaging my beloved daughter. Did you even complete high school if you live with a single father? Talking to someone who lacks education is difficult, and marrying them would just make both of you unhappy. A graduate of one of the best U.S. colleges is what our son deserves. I laughed off the impolite couple after hearing this. Then I spoke, revealing the real history of my daughter. The pair, who were preoccupied with education, was shocked. We launched a counteroffensive. I'm a single parent named Jack. Madison is the name of my kid. 20 years ago, right before Madison was about to start primary school, my wife died in a car accident. Prior to it, my wife's parents had already died of disease. With the assistance of my parents and Madison's grandparents, I have been parenting her ever since. But I barely had time to play because I was largely dependent on my parents to take care of the housework. I recall fretting all day when I couldn't pick her up from daycare because she was ill and I had to work, and only feeling relief when I saw her sleeping soundly late at night. I also recall attempting to do something useful, like burning onions while preparing a lunchbox for a sports day. Madison or my mother had to tell me about parent-teacher conferences because I was unable to attend them frequently and had to go on the weekends when I was working. I could rarely get Madison to leave for school and hardly ever say, "Welcome home," when my father took her to amusement parks. To be honest, I feel like I had very little influence over her life. Madison, however, developed into a robust adult. Even though you're busy, you still need to eat healthily, Dad. Make sure you eat the meal I prepared. Thank you. Look forward to the omelette, of which I am quite proud. Madison, worried that I was busy, would prepare me lunch and then begin to chat about her school day. The teacher complimented me the other day, Dad. That's fantastic. I'm very happy. She would tell me stories about school, even though we didn't have much time together. Dad, I want to go to this school. Oh, I'm all for you if that's what you want. Thank you, Dad. I may be biased since I am her father, but I think she has developed into a thoughtful and caring lady. Recently, Madison told me she wants to marry someone. The guy, Ethan, seemed to have a gentle demeanor. I met Madison through work, he said. Ethan is a lawyer who graduated from Harvard. Madison added, I see. So an elite? Huh. Not at all. Compared to Madison and you, Jack, I still have a lot to learn, he laughed in response. And it might be rude to say, but he didn't really look like the elite type. This was probably why he seemed like a good match for my somewhat gentle daughter, Madison, considering they were both in their late 20s. I had no intention of interfering with their decision to marry. However, watching him smile tenderly at Madison, I could tell he would genuinely cherish her. I felt confident that Ethan would take good care of Madison. Please take care of Madison for me, Ethan. Yes, I will definitely make her happy. It's not just about making her happy, but about being happy together. Yes, looking forward to our future. Me too. Madison, I wholeheartedly blessed the two of them, smiling tenderly at each other. A while after Madison introduced Ethan to me, she said she needed to talk. Next time, I'm planning to visit Ethan's parents' house to greet them. Dad, would you come with me? Me too. Yes, but both of Ethan's parents are busy with work, and it's hard for them to find time. That's why we want to have a meeting with both families together. I want you to come along. I see. All right, I'll join you. Thank you, Dad. Sure, if they're that busy, we'll accommodate Ethan's family schedule. Let me know once the date is set. Okay, I will. But try to set it up as soon as possible since it's a slow period for me. I'm flexible with time and decided to adjust to the other family's schedule. But it was supposed to be this weekend. But it seems Ethan's dad suddenly got called into work. Is that so? The weekend plan got postponed, and then I was told it seems Ethan's mom has to attend a meeting for an event. Well, if they have other commitments, it can't be helped. In this way, the plan was set and then postponed several times due to various commitments. At times, the discussion went back and forth, making it difficult to finalize the plans. It seems they really are busy. 2 months after Madison mentioned it, we finally managed to schedule a visit to Ethan's house. We've been waiting for you, Jack. Sorry to keep you waiting. Not at all. It's our fault for postponing it for so long. Sorry about that. No, it's fine. Please come this way. Ethan led us through a magnificent gate. Looking at Madison beside me, I could see she was nervous. I was aware that I had the same look on my face. Ethan's family home was a large traditional house. The garden was spacious and well kept, with colorful carps swimming in the pond. The roof tiles gleamed black, and the large entrance was spotless. It was a very impressive house. We were then led into a large guest room. A painting hung on the wall, and beautiful flower arrangements were placed in expensive-looking vases. It was clear that this was a house with a distinguished history. In the center of the guest room sat a well-dressed man and woman, presumably Ethan's parents. The father, dressed in formal attire, sat with his arms crossed. He looked at us steadfastly, making no move to get up. "Welcome to our home," the mother, while smiling and appearing friendly, gave the impression that her eyes were not smiling. According to what Madison had told me earlier, the father's name is Robert. He's a bank branch manager. The mother is named Linda. She's a principal at a private high school. I had heard that both parents, like Ethan, graduated from Harvard University and are both highly accomplished. Nice to meet you. I am Madison, engaged to Ethan. My name is Jack, her father. Thank you for taking the time for our daughter today. I am Ethan's father, Robert. I'm Linda, the mother. Please take the seats. We sat on the chairs and greeted them after they introduced themselves. We sat down on the chairs they offered. Please have some coffee. Thank you, I replied. Linda served coffee and then returned to her seat next to Robert. Thank you for coming all this way today. The meeting, which began on a seemingly cordial note, felt more complicated as I noticed Linda's non-smiling eyes and Robert's seemingly condescending gaze. Today is a good day for this. Yes, indeed. We're lucky with the weather. As we chatted about the weather and other light topics, Linda suddenly asked Madison an intrusive question. I heard your mother isn't with you. Is that right? Mom, that's so rude to ask out of the blue. What's wrong with that? It's a fact, isn't it? Yes, well. Ethan tried to reprimand Linda, but she seemed unconcerned. I couldn't help but give her a smile at the situation. Excuse my asking, but how old were you when she passed away? Well, Madison lost her mother in a car accident just before starting elementary school. Mom, that's really inappropriate. Who took care of the household chores then? Surely not you. No, my parents helped out, especially my mother. She did most of the housework. It must have been difficult without a female figure in the house. No, it wasn't like that. Mom, Linda's rapid-fire questions started to work me. Without a mother, who would have taught you about household chores, especially cooking? My mother took care of the household and taught Madison various things in my and my wife's stead. Due to this, Madison became very skilled at housework. She is especially good at cooking. Her specialty, the omelette, is exquisite. That's right. Madison's house is always clean, and I love her omelette, added Ethan. But still, I tried to explain before Linda could continue, but she seemed unconvinced. I worried about the difficulties Madison might face with her as a mother-in-law. I don't think our families are quite a match in terms of background. What are your thoughts on this? Just as I was contemplating this, Robert, who had been silent until then, spoke up. His question took me by surprise. Dad, what are you talking about? What do you mean by that? Our family has a long and distinguished lineage. Linda began to explain, supplementing Robert's statement. Our ancestors include politicians and bureaucrats. I see. Of course, not only Ethan, but all his siblings have attended or are attending Harvard University. He's also making a name for himself as a lawyer. Yes, I'm aware of that. It's not just Ethan. His siblings have also graduated from or are currently studying at Harvard University. Mom, what's your point? Educational background doesn't matter. It does matter. Our family is a lineage of elites, all from Harvard University. The thought of Ethan marrying someone without a mother raises concerns about her bringing an education. That's outrageous, Mom. In other words, they implied Madison wasn't suitable for their family. Realizing this, my anger began to rise, but for Madison's happiness and for Ethan, who was trying to calm his mother, I clenched my fists, holding back my anger and enduring Linda's words. If you're from a single-father household, did you even attend high school? Conversing with someone undereducated can be difficult, and marrying such a person would only lead to mutual unhappiness. Our son deserves someone who graduated from one of the top universities. Enough, Mom. That's incredibly rude. Undereducated. Madison, just because she didn't graduate from a top university in the U.S. Dad, what are you doing? I couldn't help but burst into laughter, laughing off the absurdity of the situation. Madison tried to scold me for it, but I ignored her and continued to look at the two of them. They had said enough. Now, it was time for us to speak our truth. I looked at them squarely, ready to speak my mind. Laughing all of a sudden. What's the meaning of this? So you're saying Madison isn't suitable for your family just because she's from a single-father household, and you assume she's undereducated. That's what we're saying. If you understand that, then please leave soon. Saying this, Robert looked at me with a look of annoyance. The audacity to judge my daughter's character and inner qualities based solely on her being from a single-father household is absurd. I've never heard anything so ridiculous. It's so ludicrous that I couldn't help but laugh. You only see the surface and titles, such shallow people. As I spoke, both of them seemed to be getting angry. Greer's and Linda's veins were popping, and Robert's face turned red. Whether from a single-father household or not, education is possible. Madison has worked hard and is a wonderful person. She may not have graduated from a top university in the U.S., as you mentioned, but as her father, I can assure you she's a daughter to be proud of. Don't judge based on your prejudices and values without knowing anything. After my forceful response, they were momentarily speechless. I stood up. Madison, let's go. We don't need to greet such rude people. Yeah, you're right. Excuse me. As we were about to leave, the door opened and a young man entered. Kyle. Oh, he's my brother. What's up? I'm Kyle, Ethan's brother. I heard my brother's fiancée was visiting today, so I wanted to greet her. As he spoke, Kyle's eyes shifted upon seeing Madison. He was astonished. Professor Johnson. Kyle, are you? Yes, I'm Kyle, a student. I can't believe I'm meeting Professor Johnson. I admire you. You're my brother's fiancée. Calm down. Yes, that's right. Nodding to Kyle's words, Ethan turned to his stunned parents. Madison is currently a special professor at Harvard University. A special professor at Harvard University. Unbelievable. Their expressions said it all. My daughter graduated from Oxford. Oxford? Yes, she studied there, published numerous papers, and was recognized globally. She was invited to Harvard University through one of my acquaintances, and now she's teaching there, where Kyle is studying. She's my pride and joy. But even if she graduated from one of the world's top universities, she's not from a top university in the U.S. Is that not good enough for you? I looked down on their stunned faces. Despite being from a single-father household, she's from Oxford. You never change, do you? Then Ethan stood up with an exasperated expression. You've always been prejudiced, interfering in my social life. Because of you, I had limited friendships and led a miserable life. His dad is from the lower class, or that kid is uncivilized. I couldn't make friends or create memories because of you. Ethan vented his frustrations to his parents. Madison is the only person I chose to marry. If you refuse our marriage because of your vanity and outdated family traditions, so be it. I'll join Madison's family and cut ties with this house. Ethan, how could you say such a thing? Let's go, Jack. Madison. Ethan gently took Madison's hand and helped her up, then led me towards the door. Following his lead, we left the house. I'm truly sorry for the way my parents acted. Ethan apologized, showing respect. As soon as we were outside, Ethan said, I was naive to think they'd accept the person I chose, no matter what. I thought they'd come around, thinking it was for my benefit. You think differently, don't you? Of course. I want to marry Madison regardless of education or job. I can't see myself understanding my parents' perspective. Ethan looked up at Madison as he spoke. Still, my feelings for Madison haven't changed. I want you to know that. Yes, of course, Madison responded by taking Ethan's hand. Seeing them together, I felt reassured. I smiled, watching the two of them, confident they would be all right. Jack? Ethan addressed me. It's all right. You tried to stop your parents. I still trust you with Madison. Thank you. Well, I actually have something to discuss. Let's talk about it at home, I suggested. Yes, sometime after that meeting. Sorry to disturb you, President Johnson. What is it? There are visitors requesting to see you, President Johnson. While working, I suddenly had visitors. Visitors? Who? Robert and Linda. My assistant informed me. All right, please show them to the reception room. Understood. It seemed Ethan's parents had come. Hearing their names, I directed them to the reception room. When I arrived, they were sitting easily on the sofa, unlike their poised demeanor during our last encounter. Here's the coffee, said my assistant. Thank you. After my assistant left, Robert started speaking. We're terribly sorry about the other day. As the doors of the reception room closed, Robert began to speak. We're truly sorry for what happened. We didn't know Madison's father ran such a large company. They were unaware of my position, and Ethan hadn't told them. No, they probably hadn't listened to him. I am the CEO of a company. It was busy expanding and dealing with troubles when Madison was young, but now it's stable, thanks to our efforts. We've gained a global market share. Our company has employees from top universities, including Harvard University, contributing significantly. Although I didn't graduate from Harvard University myself, I'm proud of my education from Yale University. But Madison surpassed me in every way. Her eagerness to learn sometimes astounded even me. Running a company, especially during busy periods, often left me with little time. However, I always made the most of the time I had with Madison. Dad? Yes. I want to have extra lessons in maths. All right, I'll find you a good teacher. And there's more. I want to study. What would that be? Whenever Madison expressed a desire to learn something, I made sure to provide her with the necessary resources. Thanks to this, she developed a passion for studying to the point where it became her hobby. Aren't you interested in fashion or popular things, Madison? Well, I guess not right now. Don't you want the latest popular drink or something? Not really. I'd rather read research papers. This made her somewhat naive and out of touch with trends, which I considered her only flaw. Jack, you and Madison really have a good relationship where you can talk about anything. Yes, we're family. I understand her well since she talks to me about everything. Our family is quite different. We don't understand Ethan's thoughts. Ethan's thoughts, you say? Yes, ever since he left home. We've been worried about him. We don't know what he's doing now. It was clear that Robert and Linda were genuinely concerned about Ethan. That was evident from their expressions. We only hear from him occasionally to know he's alive. We have no idea what he's doing or where he is. And then we tried to meet Madison, only to hear she had left the university. Do you know what she's doing now, Jack? Apparently, they really knew nothing about the situation. Did you talk to Ethan after that? Well, yes. They told me they were willing to accept his marriage to Madison, but Ethan wasn't satisfied. He just flipped his opinion because Madison is an outstanding Oxford graduate. Right. That's true, but what's wrong with that? So if Madison was from an ordinary university, you wouldn't have accepted the marriage. Of course not. What's wrong with that? You really didn't understand anything. No matter the educational background, your attitude was wrong. Wrong, you say? How can you not realize how rude you were and that your thinking is flawed? Until you understand that, I won't return home. With that, Ethan apparently left. The two of them, who had been so assertive before, were now completely dejected. It seemed they were deeply shocked by their eldest son's departure. Why do you hold such prejudices, especially you, Linda, being an educator? Yes, on the principal of a prestigious private high school, Linda began to explain, still downcast. Our school has a high success rate of students entering Harvard University every year. However, those from well-off families with both parents present have a significantly higher acceptance rate. This didn't necessarily explain the prejudice against single-parent families. The reason? Even if students from single-parent families can afford private schooling, they often can't focus solely on studies. Many of these students work part-time to lessen the burden on their parent or to be self-sufficient. As a result, they naturally have less time for studying and some struggle with their family situation to the point where it affects their academic focus. We even have issues with families who are late in paying tuition fees. Such students typically have a lower academic drive, I see. Thus, the equation in my mind became, single-parent families are poor and children from poor families are undereducated, Linda said. Indeed, seeing such situations firsthand can lead to such perspectives. However, yes, despite being a principal and an educator, I should never have looked at any student with prejudice. Over time, I became soaked in these biases, failing to see each student as an individual. It's embarrassing to admit as a person. Her attitude showed genuine remorse. Robert, too, nodded in agreement. It seemed they had finally reflected on their actions. With this, I felt I could hand over what had been entrusted to me. I presented them with a letter. This was a handwritten letter from Ethan and Madison that I had been keeping. If my parents ever truly repent and apologize to Jack, please give them this, Ethan had said. So, I had held on to it until now. To Dad and Mom, Madison and I are going to live in England. Madison has ties to the university, and I plan to acquire an international lawyer's license here. I am truly grateful for the upbringing you've given me. It's true that your interference was painful for me, but I understand it was out of love. However, I couldn't bear it this time. Before I start to completely dislike you, I wanted some distance. Sorry for keeping silent. To Robert and Linda. Honestly, I cannot forgive you for insulting my hard-working father and my deceased mother, but it was not my intention to separate Ethan from his parents. Once we've settled down, please visit us in England. I want you to see our life. The letters from the two, who must have been hurt by the recent events, brought tears to Robert and Linda's eyes as they whispered, "We're sorry." I thought they were always children, but they have gone far beyond my reach. I spoke these words. Both of them nodded repeatedly through their tears. Ethan and Madison are now admirable adults. I understand the desire to keep them close and the worry that comes with it. But as parents, we must recognize the right time to let go. While it feels lonely, I wish for their happiness in their own lives. I hoped for just that. Since then, Ethan's parents and I have become occasional contacts, staying in touch now and then. We meet for meals or drinks, often discussing our children's lives and sharing stories about them. Welcome, Jack. Thank you. By the way, I received some photos from them. Let's look at them over dinner. That's great. It's good to know they're doing well. Yes, indeed. The photos they sent this time were apparently taken in London. I'm looking forward to seeing them. These moments have become very enjoyable for me. Naturally, I feel a sense of loneliness thinking about my dear daughter, who has ventured overseas. By the way, I spoke with Ethan on the phone recently. Oh, it was awkward at first, but when I expressed my desire to hear about his life, he opened up and shared many things. That's wonderful. Yes, previously I would have just imposed my views without listening to him. I've come to realize that being a good human being doesn't necessarily correlate with an educational background. You've changed, haven't you? Yes, I've learned much from my own son. Linda smiled gently at Robert's laughter. I was raised to believe our family was prestigious, but boasting about it doesn't make it true. I was simply living in a delusion. Prejudices can be frightening. Both Robert and Linda, who smiled more warmly than before, seemed to have grown more attractive as people. Following that first phone call, their communication by phone and email increased. I sensed a following of their familial relations. Years later, I found myself at the airport with them. Previously, in Madison's letter, she had expressed a wish for us to see their life for ourselves. The day to fulfill that wish has finally arrived. Dad, Madison, Ethan, and Madison, who greeted us at Heathrow Airport, had changed a bit but were vibrant and well. Long time no see. Yes, it's been a while. You look well. Ethan and his parents, unlike us, seemed a bit awkward in their conversation. Let's go to our house, Madison suggested, and we all agreed to visit Ethan and Madison's home. Well, everything is so neat. Yes, of course, as we were shown around the house, we came across a room that caught our attention. Is this a baby crib and baby toys? Could it be? Yes, actually, Madison said gently, smiling and touching her belly. So, our grandchild is on the way. Oh my, so we're going to be grandparents, Ethan's parents exclaimed. Congratulations, Ethan and Madison. Thank you, thank you. The couple beamed with genuine happiness. Actually, it turns out we're expecting twins. Twins. That's double the joy. Ethan. Make sure to take good care of Madison. Of course. Don't repeat our mistakes. Listen and communicate well. Yes, of course. I'll love these children just as much as my father loved me. If anything comes up, don't hesitate to call us. We'll be there in a heartbeat. Thank you. We all laughed heartily together. The conflict of that day had finally been resolved. After staying at their home for a few days, it was time for us to return home. Next time, we'll visit America. Yes, all four of us. We look forward to it. But don't push yourselves too hard. Yes, come back healthy and happy. We made this promise before heading back home. Robert, Linda, would you like to join me for some shopping? Shopping. Yes, I thought we could send some baby items to Ethan and Madison. What a fantastic concept. Together, let's go. Their first grandchild thrilled both families. Madison subsequently contacted to express gratitude for all of the things we'd had purchased and shipped. But you sent too much. The three of us got ready to greet the family of 4 years later. Prejudices on a variety of topics are frequent throughout life. Misconceptions, however, frequently mask the reality. I thus hope that people would stop and think before acting on them. It's crucial to try to see the substance of things rather than making snap judgments based on preconceptions or assumptions. I have come to believe that.